Every time we go camping, we set up at our campsite, one of the things that we found out was that where we were sitting was just dark. Especially when it got nighttime, it was really dark. So if we wanted to read a book, if we wanted to just sit around and talk, and not sit around the campfire, but actually just sit and eat, it was so dark that you couldn't even see your food. And so what we wanted to do was add a light. So I looked and looked and looked, and of course the answer that everybody seems to find is an LED light strip mounted somewhere up above on the rig itself. So what we've done is actually got an inexpensive one on Amazon. I think it was under 20 bucks, and it was 17 feet long. And so I'll kind of walk you through what we did to install that. Now, first what we did was we found a place to install it, and the place to install it we found was right up underneath the awning roller. Matter of fact, if you can see right there, you can see the LED light strip that's underneath the awning roller there. On one end, what we did was we taped the end off with some Eternabond tape, and put the other end under that, so it's fairly weatherproof. And then on the other end, where it wires into the controller, I put some heat shrink tubing on it, and then ran that down. And you know, there's already a hole in the rig for the power for the light. So I drilled a hole into the side of the light fixture. I extended the wires from the LED on down so it would be long enough to go from the LED light strip down through the light fixture for the porch light, and then inside where we could mount the controller. Now, I completely lucked out with this step. It just so happens that our porch light, the power wires that go to that porch light are 12 volts DC, but there's already a hole drilled in the rig that goes out to that porch light. And that hole happens to be right here. And it's right behind the speaker for the radio. So I pulled the wires in through that hole and then mounted it inside of this cabinet right here. So I mounted the controller right there. And you can also see here is the remote control for it. When you change the buttons on the different colors here on the remote, it changes the colors on the LEDs outside. So this really ended up being a really clean installation for me. Now, one thing I will say, and I will put the link to this LED system down below, but this remote is infrared. So it's line of sight. So if we're outside or if this is closed, this remote does not work. So we have to have this up to be able to point it at the controller for it to work. You can see the wire and the extension that I did. I've just run that under this little false wall here. I took that out and then out to the porch light. The other thing that I did, I really lucked out too, was that this controller is 12 volts DC, and it came with a big old power supply that you could plug in to 110, but I didn't like that. I didn't want to have to run more wires to get to a 110 outlet. And so what I did was I found out that it actually was 12 volts DC, and it just so happened to have 12 volts DC running right behind here, not going to the porch light because that was switched, but actually running to this reading light right here. That's 12 volts DC, always a constant because the switch for the light is here. So I connected the 12 volt DC wires there, ran that up into this box and then back around, and I just so happened to have a 12 volt DC connector that I spliced in to make it work. So with that, it ended up being a very clean installation, and now we have light and we absolutely love it. Now the last thing I would say is, if you are planning on doing this, do your homework, do your research, do all of that before you start. Really look at what you're going to lay out, where you're going to put it, and see if you already have some stuff that's kind of helping you along the way, like going in through the porch light. That way you don't have to drill through your rig. Some other things to do is make sure that up underneath your awning you have enough room to actually stick the LED light strip. And lastly, it's really important, preparation is everything. Make sure that you get some alcohol or some alcohol prep pads or something and really clean that area real good before you stick the LED lights there, because this will be traveling down the road at 70 miles an hour and you don't want that stuff peeling off while you're driving. So again, this has been it was a really easy, simple thing to do. Didn't take very long. Certainly the planning part of it took way longer than the actual installation. But I hope that this has helped you, given you some ideas so that you can brighten up your camping spot too. Pastor Kevin here saying, get out there, RV, have fun with your family, spend some quality time with your family. And when you're there, don't go camping and take your cell phones and spend all your time on your phones or your computer, your laptop or something. Just like when Moses when God told Moses to come up on the mountain to give him the 10 Commandments, God said, come up on the mountain and be there. And that kind of doesn't seem grammatically correct. Come up and be there. But I think what God was saying was, come up on the mountain and be there. Don't worry about anything else that's going on. Spend time with me. And so when you're out with your family, be there. Be there with them, not in proximity, but in presence. I hope this helped you get out there in RV. Make sure you're at church on Sunday.